First of all, don't tell me what to do. Ding dong. Hello?
سبحان خالق الإصباح.
Yes, y'all. The golden Ayatollah is back on the golden brand reinstated by the game. And it's game on when the vet's in the house, infidels. It's time for your developmentally challenged, fat-shaming NXT Next Level review as we bring it to you here live, channelattitude.com, Hamin Media Group, Bin Hamin YouTube, and twitch.tv/Hamin Media. YOLO! Yes, what's good? What's good? I see the chat room filling up already, and I already got heat this morning, because we're double streaming at Hamin Media Group and Ben Hamin YouTube channel. They're like, where do we go? Where did who go? So you guys pick whoever the fuck you want. Neither of them are monetized. I appreciate all the HMG supporters out there. I see Dan Heffron, Elizabeth, Al Robinson, my man Frank's Pickle Barrel ass already in the house. So yeah, man, wherever you guys decide in the chat, do as thou wilt. It's all YouTube, and it's all a big work at the end of the day. But one of the hardest workers at HMG that I know, man, and glad to have him on. Seen him on the Smack Attack filling in. He's part of the VBC over on the Impact Attack, and always with Big Ray. We got to give a shout out on vacay all day. It's my man, the vet, the opinion haver. What's good, veteran?
Hey, what's up, Ben? Who you want to fat shame today? Let's get it started.
Well, I'll fat shame myself, I guess, first. Even though I am down 13 and a half pounds, vet, I quit sugar on my birthday, August 23rd, and I've been going hard since.
On it or after it?
I had my birthday cheesecake at Red Lobster, right, and that was all she wrote. So, but I've been going hard on the cardio at the gym since about mid-July. So, feeling good, feeling differences even in my sleep and stuff like that. But yeah, man, I was a little befuddled last night, and we'll get into it talking about some NXT bodies a little bit, because we are in a visual business. Thankfully, I'm a big ugly terrorist, and nobody wants to live vicariously through me. However, if you're playing this Insta-Ho game that they play over there now, there might be some time to walk away from catering. You can walk away. You can say no.
Oh yeah, and you can always, there's always plenty of advice to go around. I'm sure there's a peanut butter and jelly sandwich that somebody didn't finish, or right, all that stuff. Nice bottled Florida water. You can import it from Florida if you're not. I
tripped and fell on a syringe, and all of a sudden I got jacked. I don't know what happened.
Oops. Coincidentally, after The Rock told me I could be a main eventer, I'm 20 pounds heavier. Yeah,
it just happens that way, right? So. But at the same time, I mean, we can get into it, but like developmental's under a microscope where they want you to fuck up. That's the WWE test of like, will this kid come along and play in the program and do it? And we were there after Benoit did his dirt, and and Ace showed up. We're not hiring anybody who's on the shit or gets tested for drugs and fails. You're out of here. Oh, okay. And then they hire the most gassed up guys that fucking showed up for the next tryout. But so good rib on us. But they're under the microscope all the fucking time, just waiting to trip up a little bit, man. So last night was surprising to me, because in 3 segments, I saw people who were out of shape before, really, and on camera, to be honest with you. And I'm surprised at that, where I could see where there's contract, non-contract guys at OVW, and some of them are getting ready to go on the road, and other guys are getting themselves in shape and pursuing their dream. But these guys are already in the bubble, and they have access to the best training equipment, the best nutritionists, the best strength and conditioning coaches, and they're out here looking like they're fucking getting 2 for $3.50 double cheese every day at McShithouse. So what the fuck is going on, man? Did you concur with that or no?
Well, I assume you're not gonna talk about the obvious people like like a Quincy Elliott, right? There's
I mean, that dude, that's the new guy who's doing the androgynous gay gimmick, right?
Right.
And that's interesting to me because if anybody's a fat body that your audience can relate to looks wise, it's him. But we've got him doing some big, like he reminds me of Magic Johnson's son, you know. So which isn't a bad thing. He's taking Velveteen Dream's spot. And he's doing kind of Gold Dust mixed with Yokozuna. I like that.
Right.
You know, like that. Those are two strange flavors.
I wonder if somebody's in charge down there that worked with both of those guys at that time in the 90s.
Oh, yeah, I'm probably sure at some point. But I feel bad for him because he's got big old gynecomastia, which is something I suffered from too, some man titties without ever having to take the gas. So, you know, if he is LGBTQ and lives the androgyny lifestyle, maybe he's a little bit more comfortable with it than I am. So shout out to him. I'm not trying to body shame him. I don't even give a fuck. You're a fat bastard. So am I.
Right. Fuck. Your gimmick is be fat. Then you got to kind of be fat because he wants to show you like how impressive he is athletically. That he can get up and down, run the ropes, do the spots and stuff like that. That's different. I assume you're more talking about the guys like what's this guy's name? I mean, we'll get into all of it, but like, what was this guy's name? Hank Walker.
Thank you. So to me, and as bad as that looked with him coming out and like, what, he went to Target and bought an outfit to show up on TV. Like, I don't get what he was even wearing, but I know what they're trying to do, but and to me, you know what that looked like, and this is probably a joke just for me, you and the OVW boys. That looked like the NXT version of Cornbread getting a match on TV. So could be. You know, Cornbread, a legendary OVW cameraman and producer, has shot probably more footage than almost anybody since the early 2000s. I don't think he's still there anymore, but he was the lead camera guy, but he would also get in and work, and he's a country bumpkin Kentucky guy, nice enough, no heat with bread. But like, that's what it reminded me of, that spot exactly, that now Cornbread's going to face a guy on the contract list and going to get fucking beat, but Cornbread wins. So I fought for that a little bit too, man.
Yeah, good old Cornbread. Second person I ever met at OVW. First person was Man Beast. Okay. And both those guys were guys that were like very, very, very local. It was almost as if like, wow, you're going to have OVW in your backyard and not go train? Like you almost have to if it's that close, right? So so like but you know, they both had a passion for it, even though they you know, their aptitudes varied on different aspects of it. So but they made the most of it and became, you know, local legends, probably local ribs to some of the guys that were under contract, but you know, all those guys were bitter because they got shipped down there and they didn't want to be there. So they would take it out on guys like that. And that's, you know, that's part of the harsh realities of paying the dues of the business you want to get in. I'm glad if it's getting away from that a little bit more, even though it'll never fully go away, as we saw. Oh, last weekend, like, did something happen? You know, so yeah, there's always going to be grown up man children. What was it? Lanny Poffo said. Rip used to always say that Lanny Poffo would say it, but he said it's terminal adolescence. It's like whatever age you are when you get involved in the wrestling business, you never get past that. If you come in and you're 18 years old, you stay 18 for the rest of your life. You never mature. You never learn anything, like as long as you stay in the business. And there's some truth to that you and I have both seen.
Absolutely. And there's good and bad with that. Now, if it's terminal adolescence, 18 to 20, and you're just a dumb fuck trying to think you're over, that's a problem. But in improv, we're always trying to search for our inner child to get back to play. That's a very
well, that's a very different thing.
Yeah, right. Like 8 to 12 years old, like where your imagination's really moving before you hit puberty, and you know, oh, I got man titties and everybody hates me, like whatever the fuck.
Yeah, you know? that's the pre adolescence. In the adolescent era is where you get stuck as a wrestler. That's the problem.
Big Surge,
terminally adolescent.
Big Surge in the house, our OVW brother. Again, I'm double streaming here at Hamin Media Group. And Bin Hamin YouTube channel. So I know the chat room's filling up. Some of you guys might be on either or so somebody pick a locker room leader and decide where you want to go. If not, just hang here with us, man, and enjoy your morning. I know I'm gonna. I was looking forward to hanging with the vet. It's been great to see Big Ray's pictures down there in Florida with Vito and Noel and his lovely bride Jen, having a great time, man. Well-earned vacation out of the crazy New York City scene. I was gonna say about forgive me, I forget the guy's name we were just talking about, the heavier guy.
Quincy Elliott.
Quincy Elliott, okay. He reminded me in the way he moves for a big man, another guy they may not know, a great independent worker, a great mechanic inside the ring and outside the ring. You'll work on your car as well, is Rough Rider Rashawn that we came up with, man. Kind of a Vader style of work, you know what I mean? And Quincy has a lot more different character than Rough Rider did. He was like DMX kind of. Right. And
Rough Rider was roughly 200 pounds lighter than
you think
Quincy
so?
Elliott.
Yeah, I think maybe
he was Quincy Elliott is a giant floppy fat motherfucker.
Yeah.
Rough Rider Rashawn was a slightly overweight, big guy, but
stocky fire plug type dude.
Yes.
Right. And it would take a lot of work in the gym to go from slop-tastic like Quincy to get to Rough Rider, but he could do it. You know what I mean? He could do it. And I think Kevin Owens is putting in a little more time, in his comeback, and I'm glad to see that. Probably helping with injuries and how he moves around the ring a bit better. But dude, let's keep going on Fantastic. Like, here's a guy I got a lot of respect for, and I know he battles the bulge, and he's done better than when he was on the Indies. But what's his name down there? It's the same as what it was in the Indies. Joe Gacy. Joe Gacy is a Northeast worker I've been on a lot of shows with, even though Gacy's scared of me. He's been ducking me for years. Gacy, you're going to get yours, Gacy. Trust me. But Gacy was a guy who I thought could lose kind of the baby fat, and he did to some degree, but he's still a little, it just makes these guys look more average than they are as performers, because Gacy can do some cool stuff and he can do good character and facials. And I'm just like, man, if I'm being honest as a coach down there taking notes, what's keeping Gacy from going to the main roster as a personality would be that, you know what I mean? Like you got to show him that I want it so bad that I'm going to fucking eat nothing but rice cakes, tuna, and fucking broccoli. And I'm going to get with a big brother on the main roster and maybe ask for some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and B12 and show them that I want this shit. And then when a spot like a Butch arrives or whatever, you're on the main roster next. You know what I mean? So that's a guy I'd really like to see. And he's done well. I'm not saying he hasn't changed his body some since the Indies, but there's still that we can almost see the finish line, but we're not quite there yet,
Well, guys like him, it's like they're only going to get so close. You're not going to, like, Joe Gacy was never going to be like a Lex Luger. You know what I mean? Like, he won't be the best. He won't look like he's not going to have Roman Reigns in fear of his spot. You know what I mean? So it's like, there's that line where it's like, well, how hard do I need to kill myself to only get to the same place? I think. And that brings up another, because we always allude to, all the performance enhancers and stuff like that when we talk about this stuff, just because guys like you and I just want to be honest about it. And I think this is how it is for me, but I don't know how it is for you, but you tell me. I was never a steroid guy, obviously. And that was not me necessarily looking down on it, because I realize it's part of the cosmetic business. It's just a concession that I wasn't willing to make. I'd rather just not make it than to do something that I didn't want to do, or it's a whole other thing I won't get into, but just saying, like, I understand it. And I think what we're seeing here is there's a lot of guys, I think, that they unfairly get accused of, and I don't know what their habits are, so I don't comment on them, but like a big, with the body shaving and stuff, that, you automatically think of like a guy like Adam Cole, right?
Sure.
So Adam Cole's a guy who clearly has never taken anything in his life. And
I think he was on gas and then he went off from NXT to AEW.
I really don't. What Adam Cole looks like to me is a guy that he could be like one of those, like he was a chubby kid and he has to work, because you see like fat deposits on his body where guys that are normally that skinny are kind of like bird chested, and you know, you kind of see he's got a little bit of meat on the chest and a little bit of stomach fat, you know, and that tells me that he could have been a fat kid that, you know, works his ass off just to look as bad as he looks, but stay in shape, you know, and guys that don't take steroids have to go through that. So a lot of people call into question his, oh, he's got to get in the gym. And I can tell you from personal experience, man, some people, no matter how hard you work in the gym, you're gonna kind of look like that if you're not on shit. It's just people don't understand. I didn't understand until I got involved and, you know, started talking to guys and them talking about all the stuff they're taking and stuff just to look like shit. And I didn't realize, like, it does, sometimes it just doesn't matter how hard you work, you know. So I don't want to call it guys' work ethic into question if I don't know for sure.
Right.
But I think what I'm saying is, especially after that, the Chris Benoit thing that almost torpedoed the industry for a minute there, because we all know now that was probably more CTE related, but at the time the narrative was, you know, oh, he had a roid rage and did all this stuff, right? And I think a lot of younger people that were coming up with aspirations of being the wrestlers heard that and wanted to stay away from that. So now you got a lot of guys that are making it, and they're smaller, but they're clean, and they don't want to make that. Like, I respect you if you don't want to go that extra distance to unnaturally enhance yourself, but you're going to have to come up with people accusing you of being lazy, not going to the gym. I could just tell you, as somebody that didn't miss days in the gym and always worked hard and never got big, it's not that simple for the layman. You have no idea how much steroids make things easier for people. But my point is, I think you're seeing a distinction there. There's guys that are like, I can make it without getting on that stuff. This ain't the 80s anymore. I don't have to impress Vince McMahon anymore. So now I can go the clean route and try to get over on character or whatever else. Now, some of them are saying that and they don't actually have a character to get over with or a look or anything else. So maybe they try to get over with the wrestling. A lot of guys that try to get over the wrestling aren't nearly as good as they think they are, Adam Cole, but that's the route that they chose. And, you know, whatever tools they have in their toolbox that they want to use, if one of them doesn't come out of a syringe, like, I think, you know, again, not talking down to anybody that goes the syringe route, not talking down to anybody that doesn't, just saying, like, you start to see it more because that's no longer like the ultimate narrative. Like, you have to be this height, and this many 100 pounds to make it in professional wrestling. It's just not the case anymore.
Yeah, I like your points there. Let me counter that just a little bit. And I want to say that I don't give a shit either way what they're doing, as long as they're like acting, you know, like superstars. It's more about and pun intended, the test of, you're here in developmental. There's the NCAA kids coming in who look great. Are you going to fucking step up your work ethic and show me something as office? Like, that's the WWE test. The second part of that is the crowd wants to live vicariously through you. So they all should be on fucking gas to look like He-Man or whatever it is with excessive muscles, because people, and I'm not saying people because you just said it, but you can make it without it. I don't think you can, to be honest with you. I think that's some woke joke bullshit, and that in this industry, people want a fucking gigantic torso, small waist, giant quads, and then you blow them out on a fucking getting into the ring because your frame can't handle it. But that's the difference of, and a Triple H looks and sees that. He's probably still on gas now. The guy's got a fucking 5 head, you know. It looks like he's got a pack of Oscar Mayer wieners on his fucking forehead because his head has gone up and down so many fucking times, man. So this is just the dirty business we chose. And to look like a larger-than-life superstar takes that dedication to 16 egg whites a day, to fucking nonstop protein, chicken and rice, double and triple gym sessions equaling 3-4 hours a day. And I'm not saying you didn't work hard, Vet, but the fact that somebody would be in the gym and seeing you is almost more important than how you fucking look, right? In the dedication of what they want to see, as opposed to, Well, he could have been at the gym and he was on Twitch for 4 hours a day playing Zelda, instead. So
Right.
that all that figures in the whole developmental system to me. So, like I said, Gacy's great with character. I think he's done a lot and been given opportunity and stepped up when I've seen him to. Now, imagine if he could add on the work of body with that. They're going to see that and they're going to find a spot for him. That's my main point. It's not to shit on somebody because they love carbs like I fucking do. Another one here is what's the chick who came back from the leg injury and she's with the hottie with the big ass who does the split on you. What's her name?
Oh yeah, Zoe Stark.
Well, not Zoe. The other one is Zoe, the one with the.
Zoe's the one you're talking about. Nikita's the one with the big
Nikita,
ass.
Nikita with the cakes.
They both come back from knee injuries. I can't.
Right. And I understand you might not be able to work out and whatnot, but that means you got to tighten up your diet because right now her fucking vinyl gear has stretch marks on it. You can't fucking step out with the back fat when you're trying to be sexy and be a baddie and Instagram hizzo because you're opening yourself up for you're doing look at me and jack off. I'm not saying she's not hot, but like now they're going to see 5 pounds difference and girls have a way harder time in the locker room with this because they judge them in a different way, especially. So, you want to send a positive message to girls who could develop eating disorders and all that kind of shit, man, that she struggles with it. So she's on the line of being Big Mama Thick over there, but you can cross that line pretty easy. And once you put on that extra 5 to 10 pounds where you're over, that's the hardest to get your metabolism going and get back on there. And if there's a buzz about you because you got sex appeal, they want to bring you up there, then they're going to look at you. She's back from knee injury. She needs 3 more months down here. They might have had plans for you. And then they see that, okay, she's a little gooey, which she probably still looks damn sexy in a bikini on the beach, taking pictures, whatever her value is, as opposed to who really wants to see these broads wrestle? Nobody. So, if that's where your money is, then you better be working on those squats. You better be working on staying in shape so you walk the line of thickness, but in shape as well. Again, it's a visual industry, and this is no slight on her personally or laziness. And coming off of a knee injury, I can easily understand why anybody puts on weight because you're limited in your mobility. But if this is me writing the reports, I probably wouldn't put it that way, but write the reports to game, which are happening, needs to lose 10 pounds is probably on there. And like, how dare he? Well, go to Vegas and look at Showgirls. They make them weigh in every week, bro. The Rockettes, all this shit. It's not just us, dude. So in developmental and having seen a door might just open for you, and then all it takes is somebody to look through and judgment call you and it closes again. So you can't give them any reason to not take you to the main roster, but they're in the Wrestling Florida bubble and they're in NXT. So they all think they're over because they live at the cool fucking condo spot and all that shit together, bro. So no one can tell them nothing outside of it. Let's see that. So we had Cornbread, Gacy, her, and Big Boy. Yeah, that was the 4. That was the 4 that I thought of as well. So, and I'm 40 pounds overweight again. So, but I'm 45 and not on TV. So,
true.
But that's what I've seen coming through. And coming from Chicago, improv is an interesting thing because there's the archetypes there, and every team has got the Chris Farley fat guy. Some have more than one on their team. And that Chicago food, bro, I ballooned up to like 316, 317 in there. And I was having all kinds of health problems, but you're kind of living this stereotype of I'll get signed by Saturday Night Live because I fit the John Belushi Farley mold as opposed to being my own thing, kind of, because that's what they would come in and kind of judge, like, oh, he's our next Mike Myers, she's our next Molly Shannon, based on the nerdy character of a girl or what have you. So That was a tough thing for me to build discipline to any degree to be able to even get down to like 260, 270 and 258 today. Vet, I'm headed for 240s, baby. I'm gonna be working hard.
You can do it. You can do it. Well, the thing about it is, you know, one of the problems is, and it goes back to what I was saying earlier about the line of demarcation between the guys that aren't willing to get on the gas and the guys that are. And then now you've got the fat guys, you know, and it's true in entertainment, like you said, improv, whatever. If everybody's trying to be the Chris Farley, well, guess what? Just because you're fat, you ain't Chris Farley. There ain't been another Chris Farley since Chris Farley. I'm sorry.
Oh.
There's been some guys that try, okay, but Kevin James ain't no Chris Farley. I'm sorry. You can't just stick him into Adam Sandler movies in the Farley spot and get the same result. It's not the same.
Jack Black has tried, you know, and done well with his own.
But he's different. He's just fat, but he didn't try to be the fat guy. You know what I mean? Like, and it's true in wrestling. It's true. Like, you see guys like, oh, well, Johnny Gargano can make it, so I can be small. Or you see a guy like Mick Foley and you're like, oh, well, he stabbed himself with barbed wire, so I could get over doing that. You know, not realizing that these guys have other skills that get them to that place that it's not just like, oh, we only gave Adam Cole a job because he's small and skinny. That's the only reason he's in wrestling. It's not because of his stuff in the ring. It's not because of his stuff on the mic. It's only because he's small. You can't just be small and be a pro wrestler. You have to bring something to the table. Same as with the improv comedy. You know, you can't just be fat. You got to actually have your own thing and be funny and be able to think on the fly and adapt. You know, but people see that, and they see that, and that's all they see. It's kind of, you know, like Jim Cornette talks about that, you know, especially he was talking about it regarding Mick Foley, of like, the people see a guy like that and they think that they could get over with hardcore stuff, not realizing all the other stuff that Foley brought to the table, like his promos and the way he approached matches, the psychology of things like that. Also the fact of being 6'4", you know, things. So like, people in wrestling have to stop thinking that it's just this one thing that they have in common with somebody else that's going to be, you know, like their excuse for why they should be able to make it, you know?
No, that's great points all the way around on that, Vet, for sure. On all levels of entertainment, you have to bring something to the table. And if you think Johnny Gargano just walked in, you go put in 13 years on the indies, and then maybe you'll get a fucking shot. And then stab yourself with some wooden barbecue skewers, and you can wrestle Masada in XPW. That'll be your you know,
easy
greatest day. But yeah, man, the other big news, Triple H, I'm taking it back slowly but surely, right? So the 2.0 is gone, the splash of color and all that's gone, and we're back to a new black and gold, the return of the NXT kind of original look, which I think was great as well. The splash of color and all that really was almost like Vince and Bruce taking and graffitiing over your shade of the old and living color opening where they're splashing paint on everything, right?
So when you see a logo and a design and a whole campaign like that, now you know Vince and Bruce aren't sitting in there making mock-up, you know, graphics and stuff like that. So this stuff all had to be pitched, and you know how creative services, they come in with like 100 ideas. Right. Mm-hmm. And then they, you know, they're like, which one do you like? And stuff like that. So can you imagine the stuff that got turned down, that's what they ended up going with, that whole rainbow, you know, the splash of color.
We've seen some of the asinine things that they bring, whether it was, I remember FTR's gimmick on paper, like early Undertaker stuff.
Like the propeller beanie and.
But you got to start somewhere in the think tank, you know what I mean? And I understand. And some things, sometimes, and this is playing the game as a creative, you give them 3 shit ideas that you know they'll hate, and you give them one that they'll be like, oh, so you load it. But then usually it backfires and they take one of the shittiest, stupid ones possible.
That's when you're doing, like, when you do personal pitches and stuff like that, that's a really good strategy to have the stuff that you know is going to get rejected. But for creative services, they're told, like, their department is just told, hey, we need 20 NXT possible logos, go. and that's their job. And we never hear about these people. We never talk about these people. They're just normal people that, to them, they're not necessarily wrestling people. They're just have an office job, and it's their job to come up with stuff. And that's why a lot of the stuff that they come up with, you know, when they're asked for something, like when Steve Austin says, hey, I need a list of cold related, you know, nicknames or whatever, they come back with temperature, you know, instead of, you know what I mean? Like they don't get it quite. They don't quite understand because
How
they're
do they
really
not? It's their fucking job.
Because they're not in the wrestling bubble. That's why they're just like, you know, like the kind of people that work on Madison Avenue types. It's just like, okay, we need this, and this, and so let's just spit out some ideas and see what sticks, you know. And I feel like the NXT logo had to be something like that, where it was just, you know, Vince saw like a bunch of things and was like, this one, I like this one. It's bold, the colors are bright, you know, like I see that being the situation.
And a lot of times it's just, did you get to him last? And the last idea that he sees will be the one that he chooses. So there's plenty of what ifs and could be's and should be's, and it's easy to shit on the ghost man of creative, but they've got a track record of doing that shit. So we'll see. But back to black and yellow, I think a lot of people are happy about it, and it just kind of reinforces in the fans' minds that Triple H is fucking, you know, really steering the ship now and not Vince. I haven't got to be on air with you, so I'll put myself over, Vet. I know you've definitely probably heard about the USA Network news and the consultants, and I just dropped episode 3 on patreon.com/Hamin Media Group with Big Stevie Cool, as we did January 20th, 2020, which was really kind of the kickoff day of the pandemic of COVID, like right there. And we went through our notes this week. So that episode's up now, $10 video tier, $5 audio tier. And you can see the notes there, unless I stayed up all that night and wrote them and it was all a lie and I'm just doing this for attention.
Probably lying, but you'll just have to pay $10 or $5 to find out, you know.
But I want to say thank you to everybody who signed up back over at Patreon, and I'm going to put up Conspiracy Horseman today with Alex Chianetti of the Taos Caves Part 2. Very cool with GGP and I talking about that conspiracy. But I wanted to give you the opportunity to ask any questions, Vet, because I'm sure you might have one or two.
Well, let's see. Kind of put on the spot. I guess I was thinking about it, you know, back when the news came out. But, you know, a lot of the questions that I had kind of got answered, even just among the talk amongst the other programs and stuff like that, without even listening to the in-depth consultant show, which, again, you can get on patreon.com. But, yeah, like, I kind of get it. The only question that I would have had would have been... No, I don't know if I did. I don't know if I did have a question.
I know I'm putting you on the spot right now, so I just wanted.
Well, it's just because like I would have said, well, how did you guys get involved in this? And Vince Russo already explained that. You know, he said they wanted to just go with him and cut you guys in and on his own, you know, and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, that's one question answered. So it's not like I have no questions, but it's like you kind of have answered a lot of them. So.
We were all in on it on the Fox call, and then we laid low to see if they were going to sign us for a month or two. And then it was I that said, hey, should we pitch this to USA? And I went bird dogging to go get the contact, got it. He reached out, and the guy had worked with Ed Ferrara in the past. So before he was an executive vice president, he was, top guy just on a single show, not overseeing the whole network. And so he had known about Vince, and he responded right away. And then from there, Vince did pitch us, but he wanted to play cards close to the vest. But Vince wants, you know, how we do it in creative together. So he paid Vince paid us, and that was an easy thing. So it was just kind of one guy in the confessional booth with him instead of 3 priests in there. But we'd all convene and then give our best advice back to him, and not I would say get on some Deca. That'd be the way.
Right. Not that advice. The other kind.
But it was definitely a phenomenal 2 years of kind of, you know, what we strive for. You and I came up together and what the dream is, and I'd love to be right hand of the dementia old man, but This way, I got to jump over all the bullshit every week, all the fighting for it, and the notes went through the EVP who turned president, and then and right to Vince. I mean, you can't ask for a better conduit to get your stuff in front of somebody and give critical notes, because they might be coming from us, but Vince hears it coming from the network, not directly from people underneath his thumb on his payroll. So it was very not just creatively fulfilling, but I feel like I hit base camp 3 in my career finally. You know what I mean? Of like, fuck, we've been chipping away at this motherfucker for 14 years, man. And finally we broke through the dam, and now we're HMG's pouring through, man, and the flood's coming. And it's been great follow-up. K100 had great, feedback from everybody who's heard the clips and the full show. And thanks to Feeney for getting us on there and opening up that relationship. Obviously, I've worked with Disco on Russo brand, but it was great to work with K-Dog, and the response has all been great. And thankfully, we had the hottest news week in the history of wrestling, possibly, to cover. So it's been quite a whirlwind the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
As you're talking, questions come to my mind. So let's work backwards. With the K100, was that broken up? Is it going to be segments on like this week's show and
I
maybe
think
next
part
week's
2
show?
is being released today or tomorrow. I think Feeney just tweeted that out, actually, because people were asking about it. So I know they do early listening on Patreon with no commercials. Then they put in their commercial plugs and whatnot, and it comes out on, I think, Spreaker, all your podcasts.
Yeah, Spreaker and everything else. But they normally get 2, maybe even 3 weeks of content out of one interview. So
Gotcha.
when they talk to who was that they talked to, they got like 3 weeks out of it. I forget the guy's name, but he was a Hollywood guy too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
about Mickey's husband from NWA.
I'll think of it later after it's totally irrelevant. But okay, so now working backwards, talking about how, I know what you got into this business to do. Like, I assume based on everything that you've said and what I know, but like, so, and even after all the stuff that you've found out, all the stuff that you've said, all the, everything that you felt over these past, 16 years or whatever, is it just, is breaking into that, is it as much of just like a fuck you as anything else? Like, just say, I'm gonna fucking do it. Not even so much that you don't, I know you don't have no love for him. I know you're not the fan you used to be. I know all that other stuff has changed, but is that like the most motivating factor, or at least one of them?
Yeah, because I stick to my guns, and it's cost me. You can be blackballed for being a Rip Rogers guy. You can be blackballed for being an OVW guy when they wanted to start FCW and NXT. They weren't trying to hear no OVW shit, bro. And then you can be blackballed for being a Russo guy or a Russo stooge. You can be blackballed for playing Bin Laden and fucking sticking to your guns and growing a beard for 10 years so that people remember World Trade Center 7 didn't get hit by a plane and fell on its own. So my dedication is to
stop saying that.
My dedication is to me having integrity and knowing what I know is right and what I offer. Mm-hmm. And the rest of that is their bullshit of throwing up roadblocks to keep me from doing it. Meanwhile, every place I go and every place I work, Indies, Impact Web, Russo brand, I make them more money. I'm always on time and doing above and beyond what needs to be done. If something's wrong, I take direction, follow it, and correct it without causing drama. And then when I get put in a position of power, whether it was DCW co-booking, booking Immortal Now, giving suggestions to USA Network, I always elevate everyone around myself before I ever try and get myself over. And that's where my true talent lies, is seeing a talent that needs some shaping that is unmolded clay, and they get the aha moment and they start doing what I'm asking them. And slowly by slowly, I lead them down the trail to success so they have an opportunity to get to the biggest spot, and they're prepared. They're over prepared, Rip Rogers style, right? So the fuck you part of it, it was fine. It was finally about me, Austin. No, it wasn't like just that, but I'm gonna make money on Patreon off of my experience of shutting the fuck up for 2 years about it while I made money from them. And we should be back on that payroll. And there was talk of us taking NXT on as consultants too at that time.
Okay. That led into my third question, but keep on your train of thought.
So is that the fuck you to the biz or whatever, after
no, specifically to WWE, like, because they're the gatekeepers of everything. Everything goes through them, even when you say other companies are trying to do their own thing, but they're trying to be successful also. And so they can't help but ape what the number one company is doing. So like how the WWE goes, so goes the business, whether they like to admit it or not, or whether they think they're different, or whether they change one thing and say, see, we're different. But that's how it is. So is it just like the fact that knowing like, oh, this guy is never going to work here, and you being like, fuck you, I'll do it. I'm going to do it.
Like that's about 50-60% of it. I agree. Okay. Like you think you're smart. Like I'm not like I'm the fucking smartest guy in the room, but you think you're smart and I don't see you coming, and you think I haven't been training for these like traps and how to end around, and you keep telling me no. No doesn't mean no. It means not right now. And not right now doesn't mean your clock. That means my fucking clock. And there's always 3-4 options on the table of how I can get around you. Some people just go, no, they told me no, and that's just it. Fuck that noise, bro. Like, I know what I want, and I'm going to get there. Speak it into the universe, whatever you want to do. But I'm from the island of misfit toys, an abused fucking performer by them, and to have a guy that you looked up to, like I did, Vince Russo of his creative, then you cut a wonderful promo on me, put me over. I can't say how humbling and nice.
Now, in fairness, the one thing I forgot to say when I was putting you over on it was light the fuse, right? Yeah. Like that's when I said it. I was like, oh damn, I forgot. What I did want to say was that, do I like any of your creative ideas? Not a one of them. I don't think I've ever liked anything you've ever put forth creatively in wrestling. But regardless of that, you're a genius, and it would have been so much better, with all the news and stuff coming out. But I was like, shit, I forgot.
Should have got the burial in. I still pop big for it right there because I need to be knocked down a peg sometimes. Absolutely.
But it's not about personal taste though. What it's about is just knowing that the way your mind works like a mad genius. Some of the things that you say, I hear you say them, and I'm like, that's so fucking crazy. And it's like I respect the genius of it, even though I don't think it'll work. You know what I mean? Like that's, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't come from a place of genius. Like you have to
get into it with Russo,
know the difference.
I get into it with Russo about Gargano. It's not like I'm falling on my sword for Gargano, but I'll fall on my sword going, let's not bury this guy. We got this soldier. How do we write something around a small guy that's brilliant? And we take dude, Napoleon, his name still rings out. How do we fucking turn somebody into Napoleon? We haven't really done that in wrestling in a major way. You know what I mean? So all these things are right there, and it's up to us as creatives to shape them up and be inspired and get excited about it. Because when I'm excited about it, you're excited about it. Yeah, man, to have Russo go, you're one of the best minds I've ever seen. 90 out of 95% of the guys I work with, and that's not me sitting there with him. That's him telling it to EC3. I'm just like, wow, bro, like fulfilled creatively and professionally and respected by my peers to hit that point is kind of what it's all about. But at the same time, I'd sure love the $400,000 to $600,000 a year I'm fucking owed at this point for everything I've put on their TV, for every one of my friends I've helped. Dude, there's monologues on fucking WWE and AEW in the last year that are right out of my phone conversations. Never earn a dime. And I'm fine with that because I want people to succeed and do good business. Does it get reciprocated? Sometimes not, but that welcome to the carny biz of being superstarred when your friends make it and whatnot. Right. But I'm fine.
It wouldn't have been any different if you went the Hollywood route. You would have given people a bunch of stuff and never got credit. So
yeah, dude. And that's the like, you want a double slit stab of why I'm like, fuck, like angry, motivated by like, I'm going to get over and nobody's stopping me, because everybody I came up with from Chicago is now on Veep, Curb Your Enthusiasm, fucking every HBO comedy and movie that you could imagine. And these are the same people who are living in 1-bedroom apartments in Chicago. We all live in the same neighborhood. So it's like, when's my wave come to get my set in? You know what I mean? And sometimes you got to make your own a little bit, for sure. But we got the
I was just going to point that out of you, dude.
Brent Herring, a.k.a. Timmy Baltimore, is in the chat, you guys. I'm not sure if he's at Bin Hamin YouTube or Hamin Media Group YouTube, but he's here.
Bin Hamin YouTube.
Yeah, he's on it, man.
I love you, Timmy. I love you, man. You can't hurt me. You can't even hurt me, bro.
Oh shit, Army of Two. But yeah, man, I appreciate those questions. And if there's
yeah, and so my last question is, where did, during this whole thing as the network, where did NXT fit into this? Did they ever pitch you anything about like, hey, I think NXT sucks, could you get any ideas for any of these people? Did that ever happen? And then we'll transition your answer into this episode.
All we would do is kind of keep an eye on what was hot, and even on this episode 3 of the Consultants, 20. I mean, the notes go back. I'm reading back, and he could be in No Way Jose's Congo. Like that's, I think, No Way Jose. Like, here's how we're going back, right? But when Gunther was Walter, and we were talking about super heavyweights in a division that way to kind of separate the upper echelons and champions. So we would keep our eyes on it, but it wasn't about us pitching for it. USA hates the fucking product, really. Not hates it, but like they wanted to go to TV 14. What does WWE do? Double down on TV PG and a bunch of shit. So now you're not listening. You're not listening to the people who are paying you, and that's a problem. They blatantly told us, we're fine with more swearing and sexuality. Give us fucking some stuff that's a little edgy. And we're like, fucking A, edgy's our fucking, our space from the Attitude Era. Of course we can. And they would, and things like Retribution that were right in the news cycle, of Antifa and all that, and Black Lives Matter with, the Hurt Business, things along those lines were easy to cross over. Could they execute them in a way that we wrote them? Absolutely not. But we're not getting our stuff through the writers. It's only suggestions. And, the USA president isn't going to sit there and now I want Bobby Lashley to say this. Like, that's not how consulting works, right? So, but people online or on corny drive-through don't understand it like that. So there's that. But then we were like, hey, we would like to help NXT because it's on USA Network too, and there's opportunity for more crossover because we're seeing people go from being over in NXT to complete character reinvention on the main roster. And that's not how things should fucking work. It's in your house. You've already gotten them to base camp 1. Now you send them back down the mountain to start all over again. In these crossover worlds, you were in DCW, OVW, you saw how I did, where it's all, we have these 2 worlds spinning. And then when they meet in the sweet spot at the center at a Royal Rumble or something along those lines, we can do business that's cool, and then the guys from the main roster have a beef and can show up in NXT, and it makes fucking sense, but and the USA president was down with all that, and like all of Hollywood, they we got paid decently. It's not WWE big money, but it's more than what I've ever made on the indies or anything, or been promised by Impact and not paid on time. But to show them, like, look, you have this full scale product. They don't need to be separate, and one is a launch pad for the other, but they're not doing it the right way. He wanted to pay us more money and do it, but this week turns into next week, and next week turns into next month, and let's just get through this. And so we never really got our hands on NXT to really format it and that's a place we probably could have done even more good to be able to mold that clay into something really great and show a storyline of a hero's journey or a heel's inciting incident that made them into a heel that they would be up here, could have started down there, bro. And that's just and we did it at OVW. DCW we would watch Al's Creative before we took over the book. We'd see what parts of the story didn't have time to be told on TV, and then we'd flush those out in the student show, and the audience was with it because they could see those details trickle down. And even if it's 5% of your audience that are hardcores, those people are with that storyline and will help you be like, oh, he did this when you didn't see that, and da 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 da. And it's that attention to detail that makes wrestling psychology so great, where people go, oh man, that paid off awesome. And I'm glad I saw the whole story, every chapter, every in and out, every little reference they might get, you know? And I think a show like Cobra Kai does that fucking phenomenally, referencing their past. There was even a scene with John Kreese and Danny and fucking Johnny where they're in jail in this new season. And fucking John Kreese goes, because Danny's going to give him a number to a lawyer to get him out. Instead, the note says, go fuck yourself, motherfucker, on it, which popped me. I was like, that's an interesting choice. But John Kreese goes, I don't want any shitty or any stupid lawyer that's your cousin. Dude, he makes a My Cousin Vinny reference inside of it. It's so passing that 5% of the people might get that. But that's the high level of writing I'm talking about, playing on multiple levels. You know what I mean? The My Cousin Vinny thing, nothing to do with Karate Kid. However, in Cobra Kai, you see Ralph Macchio's brother, and he's like a fucking goof. And you know that the fucking, he is, what's his name? Goodfellas, My Cousin Vinny, short little fucking
Joe Pesci.
Joe Pesci's son. You know, he, without saying it now, you know his fucking dad, or he's the nephew of Joe Pesci in the way that he acts, bro. In a passing line by John Kreese, all that is inferred. That is the highest level of writing, tongue-in-cheek and comedy that we can hope to get to by creating a fucking, now I'm doing my Chris Farley, create the world, bring it here, right? Like, you know, like you have to, all these things are in our universe. Are we going to pluck them out of the sky and make sense of them? That's what the highest level of the artist and the writer really is. And
right.
and I loved that. I just fucking, without saying it, I had a rush of emotions and created the backstory in my head. And now, even though I think they might have another season, could you bring Joe Pesci onto the show? Yes, you could. Yes, you could.
Well, if that was a high-level writing choice, that'd probably be the only high-level writing choice they made on that wannabe Disney Channel fucking bullshit embarrassment they call it Cobra Kai. But that's a podcast for another time for you and I to get into. Right, we got to get into this episode here. So we're going to kick this off. This is the 1-year anniversary of 2.0, Ben. I don't know if you knew that. And what better way to start with him with a cage match? Where we get the Creed brothers versus Pretty Deadly. Now, how familiar are you with Pretty Deadly, Ben?
I saw them at the pay-per-view, and it pissed me off of the tops they wear, because with my own man titties, that would be the, like, if you wanted to torture me, it would be make me walk around Guantanamo Bay with one of those tops on. Like, that would be, I'll tell you where everybody is. I'll tell you where all the nukes are, whatever it is, brother. But I like that they're a flamboyant. They're fucking who the guys with the Tigers got his fucking face ripped off in Vegas?
Siegfried and Roy.
Siegfried and Roy. That's who they fucking are, bro. They're the Siegfried and Roy of wrestling. I would even get them a tiger, and maybe it'll eat some of the audience members that were marking out too much there. But
acceptable losses.
Right. It's collateral damage. But I think it's instant heat, and there's money on them. They're and they could get Rick Rude shredded, and I think they'd bring him right up to the fucking roster, bro.
Yeah. I definitely Ray and I definitely enjoy the Pretty Deadly. They're very, very, very entertaining, and I don't see an upper limit for their ceiling other than the tag team thing. Like, if we get more focus on tag teams, then we can start to rebuild that kind of stuff that we don't get on Raw and SmackDown, where for so long it's just been, oh, we need a tag team match to feature this amount of guys, not because we actually have a tag team division. And, you know, and then when we do have one, here comes Braun Strowman. So
to kill him,
and then he falls on his face doing it. So fuck him.
Fucking dude, I'm gonna box that one.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, we know how you feel about him, and we're right there with you. But this match though, cage match. I mean, what'd you think of the match itself? Anything stand out to you? Or
I really didn't like the choices they made. I wouldn't open with a cage match. You build to a cage match. You build the story all the way up to that point to pay it off, because now we've got a huge spectacle, and the rest of the show has to follow it with simple wrestling.
Well, they built to it on this show, not on this particular episode, but they built to having a cage match. It wasn't a random.
I'm fine with that,
match,
but this episode should be the recaps and the fucking final thoughts and getting ready for the cage and all that. And shit.
The other thing too is, now here's another question, because we've seen Tony do this a lot on Dynamite. He just front loads the show, and then it's like, whatever in the main event.
How's that working out for him?
It hasn't worked out great, but there's got to be a reason why he keeps doing it. I assume that in the past, and this is probably true of WWE too, because if you notice how many times they put a women's 6-man in the main event on Raw, and they're just like, fuck it, who cares? So the question is it because they, like, when they were putting more serviceable main events in those spots, the numbers still fell off just because people are done watching at that point? I mean, a lot of people that give them the numbers, let's face it, they're old people. They were probably watching Law and Order reruns and just fell asleep in front of the TV. I could see them waking up at about 10 o'clock, 10:30 and shutting it off because they meant to go to bed and they just didn't. That's who's getting cable ratings. It's not like young people or the target audiences for Dynamite or whatever, or certainly not NXT. So do they just figure like, well, we'll put the good stuff at front and we'll hope they fall asleep with the TV on?
Why are we looking for those people when it's the most hardcore, and we need to make a show that takes them through the whole experience of a show? Right away, all we've done is take out our biggest gun, and now we're gonna come out with a fucking slingshot the rest of the show. It just is. It doesn't make a bigger experience for me, and I see the metrics that Tony wants because he's an analytics guy, and that there is fall off. But why are we booking when it's only hardcores? When it's like, of what we're talking about, let's say 470,000 people. You're now booking for 70,000 maybes, as opposed to the experience of the diehards of the 400,000 who will go run tell that if you fucking give them a bigger experience. So if this was me in charge of NXT, writing to the USA president, first note, do not open with a cage match ever. Like, that's fucking my note there, bro. So, and that's not on these guys, that's just a wrong booking decision.
No, but what we did have, at least in this one, what we did have was a surprise, title match main event. So, however, we really didn't have any idea we were going to get to that. So even though they did build to it, like, you could make arguments for it. I don't know. I guess they just didn't value the tag team championships as much as the North American championship for whatever reason. But I mean that's a philosophical debate. I always say,
I think it's wrong to bring Solo Sikoa back down to do any business, and maybe down the road, but 2 weeks after his debut and he's the hot new member in the bloodline, you don't go back to developmental, bro. Like, you're now above that. You're elevated. And to see you back on that show just took your stock price from 100% down to about 85%.
I see. Well, we'll have to determine that as time goes on.
You graduate college and then fucking go back and go to class. Hey, guys, I'm back, everybody. Just wanted to sit in, be a big dog on fucking campus and all that shit after you've got your degree. That's how I look at it.
Right. Although I have to point out that you just talked about doing business where there's reasons why people go back down to NXT after Royal Rumble, stuff like that. So I mean, if they can make it make sense, which this one, I mean, again, it's harder for you to see because you're popping in after however many weeks, and so that they do talk a little bit about this, but again, they could be doing everything they could be doing. We could agree they're doing it better. They could be doing it better, and they're just not. But anyway, the Creeds,
and just to fuck you, Vet. Don't you ever talk about meshing,
right?
No, but to go up to the roster and then come back is not a strong play that devalues. To go up to the roster, have somebody chase you, do business up there, elevates them. they can go back. Now you have the reason to chase. Just to be there, we're missing that. It works one way for a payoff. The other way, it devalues, in my opinion, a little bit.
Yeah, I think so too. So in the match, one of the Julius gets handcuffed to the cage with one of those fucking those sex handcuffs. Like, why can't we just, can we really just please, can we finally just get rid of these once and for all? He just looks like she looks like a dildo just sitting up there.
Tell me about the guy who handcuffed him.
The guy that handcuffed him was Damon Kemp.
Okay.
That was a guy from the Diamond Mine. He recently turned on the Diamond Mine, and he put Roddy Strong in the hospital apparently.
And this is him fucking those guys over still out of the Diamond Mine.
Fucking those guys over on the Diamond Mine. And what else? And also, for the record, this is the brother of Gable Steveson. However, they're not using that name at all. He's Damon Kemp. They don't even want to acknowledge that this existence, although I feel like that's going to change in the future, but his name won't change. Much like Solo Sikoa is called Solo Sikoa, and won't be named Solo Uso or any of the other things that, you would ask questions like as a fan, a normal, rational thinking fan. But yeah, so he comes out here to further screw the Diamond Mine, and that's what ends up getting pretty.
I thought something was kind of fucked up because he was kicking the shit out of that cage like it was going to come off. Like, I thought it was like, handcuff him up. He's going to break it, or he can't break it, and now we're fucked. And he's like, all right, I got to undo this to get this out of here. And he's trying to save it. There was a lot of like, this whole cage could come down and smash somebody in the fucking front and first and second row, which would be entertaining. There were some people there who could get smashed with a cage.
Well, you probably noticed from this match that the Creed brothers are the kind of guys that don't really probably know their own strength a lot of times.
Yeah, they're farm boy strong. Absolutely.
You could definitely see them being the kind of guys that get heat when they go up to the main roster, and the guys are like, I ain't taking that. I ain't doing that. You ain't getting that. You ain't doing that to me. Like, you could definitely see that being an issue where they want to fast track these guys, but yet they're still like green enough to where they may accidentally be hurting people. And, that's probably plays into it. He's probably like, well, I can't just sit up here with these fake handcuffs that I could easily break. So I have to just kick the cage a bunch of times and make it look like I'm doing something. I'm not sitting here with my thumb up my ass, and it doesn't help that much. It still looks the same as he just such a flat finish of him just standing up there with the handcuffs limply like on his wrist, and he's just watching his partner get beat up and pinned, and there you go. The pretty deadly
it
retains.
wasn't a strong finish. I agree with that too, because he was there for 3-4 minutes. You know what I mean? Having to try and pretend like, I'm trying to get away, but meanwhile it's making it more and more dangerous. Go back to the Braun thing, because we put that over, like, of him running through the WWE main roster of tags, and now everybody who had heat looks like shit, and we're not building them. It would have been a way better spot to have Pretty Deadly show up with the fucking title gimmicks and saying, now that we're in NXT, we go and do what we want, and we're here to call out any tag team on WWE roster because we think we're the best in the WWE universe, whatever's sachet Shantae, and fucking and this is our big debut night, and nobody's gonna ruin it. Braun debut, kills them fucking both, people way the fuck up off it. I think that would have been way better, and then he could have ran around the ring and tripped and fell on his face dressed like an elf and Wonder Woman. It would have been great for everybody. Instead, we got none of that, and hey, who wasn't on Raw this week? Who wasn't on Raw this week? Baron Corbin.
I think it was Braun Strowman.
Oh, Braun. Oh, yeah, he wasn't.
We didn't even get any follow up to this.
He didn't. Was he or was he not on? I can't even remember.
I don't remember it. The chat will correct us if we're wrong, but
the
point is, they're not following up on shit.
He didn't control his narrative. He should have controlled.
He should have controlled it better. If only there was someone he could have talked to that told him how to control his narrative. So, Liz says he wasn't on, so that means that's definitely not. If anybody knew, it would be Liz. So anyway, next we go to.
He said he was going to be on SmackDown, right? So maybe
he went to SmackDown,
and they didn't bring him back for Raw. So he's
maybe he's done. Maybe he's done already. Finished up with the company. All right. So So we get the
He-
Ridge.
Sorry, he looked shook, bro, when he came out. And this is not just me trying to
I know.
Fight,
I heard what you said, and I agree with you.
Okay.
He looked like he always looked like kind of like that, confused, and like I think most people just were like, he's big, whatever. They like Braun Strowman ironically. They don't really give a shit about him. They just think it's funny, right? So
yeah, Elizabeth, not on that horseshoegenetics.com cannabis. She remembers that he was not on Raw. Thank you, Elizabeth, for being the angel on our shoulders. We appreciate it.
Yes. So anyway, speaking of large men, we get the Ridge. That's what I call him, but it's actually what's his name's kid, Wayne Bloom's kid. What do they call him? Von Wagner. I have trouble remembering their real names because Ray and I have all these running jokes.
To me, he's Von Lilas, bro. Like that.
He's a Von of some sort.
Yeah. Like Von. Like, could you? That wouldn't be a bad thing. I'd still bring in Von Lilas now, and I would actually have him chopping like Von's. We just had like the Von Trapp family, and they all showed up. Everybody's a fucking chopper, you know. It just reminds me from all the lumberjack stuff I grew up around. There was. It always goes in like these that I've seen in these strange 5 to 10 year streaks. Like there was this guy, Matt Bush, who was like the modern day Paul Bunyan. Nobody could beat him for a decade, bro. Just insane strength. And then all of a sudden from New Zealand, all these great wood choppers came out of nowhere and they were smoking everybody. And then they kind of faded out. Now it went from big burly women that look like men to like these CrossFit women and guys that are way more in shape like than the old school lumberjacks were. So I could see the Von Chopper stuff becoming its own thing of like, we're going to take over that way, you know, and get back to chopping some meat because it's real as fuck, you know?
Right.
Oh, Big Ray's in the goddamn chat. Hey, Big Ray,
he's got nothing better to do than to watch NXT LvL. Who can blame him? Who can blame him? No, man, don't say that. Of course he would show up to watch us.
Get out there, hold some alligators. Let's get some secret creeper pics from the beach, Ray. Come on, you're down there in the fun and sun. I want to see those mixed drinks flowing, baby, and enjoying yourself. You don't need to be watching no goddamn wrestling.
And Colin Wysong's here, and we don't care if he does any of that shit.
Oh, so. Colin is too? Oh, yeah, he's got well, look at it. It's an HMG kind of fucking day right here. Dude, I think I'm not trying to start anything because the guy's a married man with a lovely family, but April Hunter just thinks the world of Colin Wysong. And, I pop because I'm trying to fill in before we get a more permanent host. And I'm like, Ape, you want this? She's like, well, Colin would do it this way. So I'm chasing Colin right now. I got to be like Colin more than I got to be like myself. But that's what talent handling's about. If Ape wants it that way, she's a talent. She gets it that way, baby.
Exactly. All right, now let me handle the rest of this show. So,
sorry.
So the Ridge, Wes, and Joe Gacy are all waiting for the result of the votes because I guess the fans voted on who is going to be Melo's opponent for the North America Championship. Mm-hmm. Wesley wins. The Ridge storms off pissed, and Joe Gacy politely concedes, as is his political want there. Then we get,
I like the guy from the Rascals. That guy's a fucking awesome talent, man. I'm not sure what you do. I think
waiting to see it, but really? I'll take your word for it.
Dude, that stuff they did in the Rascals of saying yes and that 70s show, pot smoking, and then get in the interesting offense where the flip and push the guy over and he fucking comes down on him. Like, I liked a lot of their stuff especially for young guys, man. They really got it in character. Even if they were B players in a scene, they would end up stealing the scene just by playing out their little relationship with each other. I think that kid's got money written on him. You just got to find the right thing for him.
He could. They have maybe they have him shackled to the top of a cage with sex handcuffs. So maybe that's what it is here, and he's just waiting to break out. So we get a package on the last 12 months. Did you see anything in this package that makes you miss watching the show?
Not too much, man. I'm happy for the kids that are getting a shot, and some of them are getting polished on them, but there's a big rift in between who's getting it and who's not getting it.
Yeah. There always has been, but they were better at hiding it before because they used to tape their shows and get like a month's worth of tapings out of one taping. And then ever since they went live on USA, it's been different. So
it's even worse at AEW, really, with the amount of indie guys there. Conan pointed that out you got some people who are incredible actors, fucking MJF, Kingston, Jericho, who can get stuff over, and then you can't give a Wheeler Utah and a fucking Daniel Garcia the mic and expect it to be, on the same level at all, bro.
Yeah. So here we have Lash Legend versus Fallon Henley, and they bring out the country trio of Fallon Henley, Josh Briggs, and Brooks Jensen. All bring out Connor's Cure Kid, Mason, the Night Howler Ramirez.
There you go.
Is there really a nickname that a kid picks, the Night Howler? Where does that come from?
Yeah, this is off the sheets. That was an alternative name for I think Hurricane Helms, and that's been on the board for a long time. So they've been waiting to use Night Howler. They just put it on him.
All right, so I like it. This is just a straight up win for Fallon. Not really much to say. I know you've probably seen Lash Legend before. Have she made any major strides since the last time you remember seeing her?
I mean, it's tough for me to remember her match, to be honest with you.
Fair enough. All right, moving on.
It was safe. All this stuff. I'm just kind of tired of. This is what I'm really sick of in the indie crossover, and there's a lot of moves, but like everybody's gonna do an Inzi or a flying knee or some shit to emulate the Bucks or Cole or fucking Omega, and it's way overdone. If I was a wrestler in 2022, I would do nothing that those wrestlers are doing, bro, because everybody on the indies wants to do it. And in fact, Gia Lee did it on Ronda Rousey, missed and fucking straight kneed her right in the titty hard as fuck on the show this week, bro. That was probably the stiffest shot there was. I was like, damn, titty got to be hurting him. A lot of titty talk on the show.
Yeah, well,
At
least Ronda's are real, so that she doesn't worry about leakage.
Right.
Yulisa Leon has a timetable of 9 months for whatever her injury is. Appears to be on the leg. Stone and Ridge walk into this scene. They're very unsympathetic, but Sangha is unsympathetic to bad language in front of the ladies. So here's Sangha, and he's facing off with the Ridge. I mean, that looks like a money match, right? Two big guys slugging it out.
Yeah, dude, I've said this about all the Indian guys that they have. This guy Sanga's another fucking beast as soon as you see him. And we have Mahabali Shira at OVW, who is on Impact. Why are they not signed and together? They look similar. They have similar builds. That's a great fucking tag team right there. Instead of letting them kind of, I'm here for the virtue of women, as opposed to like, look at us, we're fucking genetic freaks, as opposed to the little kids you got handcuffed to a top of a fucking cage. I guarantee them Creed boys won't be working stiff with that big bastard and Mahabali Shira. And we don't even know what the fuck to do with Jinder Mahal, Shanky, and Veer. And there's other guys out here that look great. We got Jorah Joel, who's in AEW, the Punjabi Lion, coming back to Immortal this weekend. That guy's in fucking insane shape, bro, always. And Hakeem Zayn, another guy, dude, that of Indian descent, who cuts the best promo possibly sometimes in wrestling, making Wu-Tang reference drops, and he totally gets it of what it comes to either do character or technical wrestling, because he doesn't have the size that these big bastards have. So make him the mouthpiece and quantify them all, man. But we've got all this huge Indian talent that everyone is going to compare to the great Khali, and all of them are way more athletic. And, Khali's a giant and part of the freak show, so there's money on him, obviously. But we got these guys, and we're not doing some Desi Hit Squad shit with them, or even having Indian Crips and Bloods, whatever, Sharks and Jets inside of that. Like, dude, let's get all these guys together and quantify it where it needs to be, bro.
Yeah. Veer was brought in originally with Sangha, so they were a tag team in NXT. Then once the lockdown happened, they kind of split up, and then the Veer rib happened. And,
to me, that's now Sangha has an id that Veer left him behind, and Veer got himself in
for
over
how
his
many
head.
weeks?
Right? Yeah, 25. Veer left him behind, and he got in over his head, and they fucked with him. If Sangha had been with him, then he would have had somebody watching his back, but he didn't. So Sangha gets his boy Mahabali Shira, and now they're going to fuck up Veer and teach him a lesson. Like, that's an easy heels id storyline of, I was with you, you betrayed me, I was happy for you, and you left me here. Now I'm going to get mine over on you because you're fucking at a weak point, bro. So, and I read a headline, creative plans for Veer and backstage creative plans for Veer. there are no backstage creative plans for Veer. Like, what a phenomenal piece by Wrestle Inc. that was. But it's just like, I don't know how you can't not. It's a massive fucking market in India, bro. And we're not feeding it anything right now.
Yeah, they just don't want to do it, man. They say they do, but they don't, because what it takes to get somebody over to the Indian people who love wrestling, by the way, it takes getting up, like making somebody seem strong and tough. That's what they like. You know, I know we talked about this before, and you always bring it up about the Triple H cab ride and stuff, but I fully believe that story because the Indian people that I know, they think Triple H is much more over than guys like, what's his name? Jinder Mahal. You know what I mean? Like,
because they put him over. If they believe that, that's even more time that Jinder should have beat the guy they believe, and now he's made, bro. And because of Game's fucking political prowess and ego, and a cab driver said, "Oh yes, I remember DX," and fucking boom, and now the finish has changed, and we just took all the money we put on this guy. And
that's my main point. In my experience, to them, it's much more about the John Cenas, the Undertakers. They love those legendary tough, like in their mind, because they think it's real half-ass. So they whoever they see winning, that's what you got to do. So if the WWE wants to break in the India market, they don't need to break in because they already have stars. Just having an Indian guy on your roster just to wave and say, "Hey, I'm from wherever." That doesn't do it. They don't care. They look at Shanky as much of a joke as we do. So, anyways, so now we go back to the country.
I'd have him blow fire in somebody's face and hit him with the Dawson side punch. I'd fucking, that's
okay. So then the country trio's already ditched young Mason. They've put him off somewhere, and they're walking backstage. They run into Toxic Attraction. Jensen gets awkward around Mandy like he always does. This is his gimmick. He puts his foot in his mouth anytime there's a woman around of any description. And then Mandy and Fallon kind of go back and forth a little. This is awful. The thing with them two trying to cut promos at each other. That's not their strong suits, but they tried it anyway.
Gotta get reps in. That's developmental. I don't have a problem with like trying and failing.
Reps are promo class, buddy.
yeah, reps.
Save that shit.
So imagine if that's the best they did. Imagine what fucking hit the cutting room floor. But I was
watching this. I was watching this at a slightly tweaked speed to make sure I could fit it all in, and like that made Fallon sound like she was cutting a normal promo. So I can only imagine how slowly she must have been talking.
Yeah,
in the live show. But
obviously the girls are easy on the eyes. I like the game of Big Gomer Buddy, starstruck by the hot chick. I think there's a lot we can do to play that out. And when she really needs, a shield, he can out of nowhere be that guy. And then we can have a weird mismatched love story where she's using him. You know what I mean? And he's just a big puppy following around, and he gets friend zoned and gets his heart broken, and his buddy's got to pick him up. I mean, those are fun stories that humans can relate to. We've all been in love with the girl that was too close to us, and we fucked it up, and it broke our hearts in junior high, and now we go. Or maybe that was just me. Maybe I did that.
Maybe. Well, they actually have done that with Jensen here. It's just and Fallon was the bartender, and that they were going when him and Briggs were going to the bar, and she was tending a bar, as she just so happens to be tending a bar that they go to, their family owns, even though she also just so happens to be an NXT wrestler and all this stuff, and that's why they're friends, because she was kind of like pouring him drinks and stuff. I forget who the chick was now. The chat will remind me, but so they did play that out.
That's good, man. You could also take it to Mandy Rose keeps no selling them. And then somebody goes into a room randomly and flips on a light switch, and they're in there making out, and like, oh my God. And then she slaps him and walks away like she wasn't in on it. So they're like having a secret relationship, right, of different stakes. I think I just want this guy, I want to write something for him to get to make out with Mandy Rose. He deserves that.
Just fair. And we know Mandy Rose will get that over.
Yeah.
But speaking of getting that over, so we come up on Toxic Attraction in the ring with mics. And so we don't even get the entrance. We just see them backstage. Then we cut to them in the ring. We don't get the entrance. Now, you probably noticed this watching SmackDown and stuff, but you remember how SmackDown would have that weird formatting problem where a lot of times you wouldn't even get like an entrance for somebody. They'd just be in the ring like, oh, and here's this jobber over here, even though it's like a named person.
Here's Tony Nese.
Yeah, and now they've actually put the entrances back on SmackDown because they realize, hey, that's kind of an essential part of the show, and it takes up time that you don't have to fill with other bullshit. Just do the entrance, you know?
And we're trying to teach these kids character because their wrestling is got to be basic and it can be sloppy. If you can get over and make your entrance into something, it doesn't matter when the bell rings. You've entertained them and they've gotten their money's worth already, you know? So a well-crafted entrance can definitely be the highest point of your segment. It usually is mine. Nobody wants to see my match. When the flag comes through and they get to boo me, that's the peak of where I'm going to take them. And then when the pinfall happens, you know,
the entrance does a lot more than just let you walk to the ring. But anyway, yeah, and actually we saw that on SmackDown, and going back to SmackDown again with Toxic Attraction, you had these two without Mandy just come out and make that long walk, whereas opposed to NXT when they make a short walk, they had the long walk on SmackDown, and they always run out of stuff to do with Reptilian Britt Baker and Fat Ass White Giraffe here. They always like don't know what to do. They don't know how to be sexy. They were taught how to be sexy by old white men that don't work there anymore. Right. So they have no idea what a sexy woman's supposed to do.
Fat Ass White Giraffe is fucking hilarious.
Thank you.
I'm looking at the picture of her now. She's got her head cocked to the side, and
one of our many, and the other one's Reptilian Britt Baker because they clearly want a Britt Baker, and she just sticks her tongue out all the time like a lizard. Because she doesn't know what to do with it. Anyway, Mandy just wants some respect on her name, which is like I guess a gimmick, like a catchphrase she's trying to get over. But she gets Alba Fire instead. Alba Fire comes out, cuts a promo, hits him with a bat, and Alba Fire up. What do you think?
The Alba Fire shit.
First of all, how about that rotten name?
Yeah, that's a terrible name. And I'm tired of I'm from Scotland and we're the Highlanders and the Warriors and I come from Warriors, don't you know? And oh yeah, they got a lot of baseball bats over in Scotland. Is that what you guys fucking run through the Highlands with?
It's a up and coming sport over there. They're getting into American baseball.
It's stupid as fuck. So right away the presentation's whatever. She's got her Kool-Aid dyed hair and she's 20 something. So that's all I need to know in this fucking story, that maybe in 10 years she'll get it and maybe she'll be, and I'm sure everyone's like, we found the next Becky Lynch. Well, Becky Lynch can't cut a promo without moving her fucking feet or licking her lips or doing catch breaths. So you're right. You did find the next Becky Lynch and it's fucking going to be a shitty performance. So just to rely on the William Wallace bullshit doesn't impress me. And we've already got William Wallace up there and he's bringing out a sword and that looks fucking stupid instead of being the Mr. Sex Appeal cool guy Jason Statham he should be. So to keep relying on this, it's like Vince is still in control when I hear, I'm from Scotland, the greatest warriors of all time. Dude, enough. Give me something about yourself and what you're here for. Well, she doesn't know that because she's young and has no idea about character or how to get herself over. So put a leather jacket on her, color her hair with Kool-Aid, give her a bat, and get the fuck out there and beat up some insta-hoes. Like, that's what this fucking segment was, and that don't impress me much.
Yeah, we don't remember in the epic poem that inspired the story of Braveheart how they talked about William Wallace going to his trunk and getting his red bat out and charging. I remember that.
Unite the clans, the Wu-Tang clans.
The Wu-Tang clans. All right. So we go from one disaster to another, which is a Cora Jade vignette. She probably shouldn't talk about whose shoes have more personality than who, right. Just to be fair here. Yep, Cora Jade with a recent heel turn. She's as bland as a heel as she was as a baby. I don't know who she's banging, but as soon as that's over, she's going to have to look for work, I'm afraid.
I don't know. Depends if she signs an NDA for $3 million. Fucking A.
Well, we'll see. Then we got Wendy Chu, who got talked shit about just in the previous segment. She gets interviewed by Mackenzie about Cora's comments. Then Lash Legend interrupts. And she does another job here because Wendy just fires back at her before she even really gets to say anything. So This has not been Lash Legend's night. Not looking good for Lash Legend.
The Wendy Chu thing was odd And I was trying to think, well, how do you put money on somebody who acts like a baby and you know is doing some regression to something like that? I just haven't watched enough to understand. I remember the schoolgirl thing where she turns anime and she's got the other character.
No, that's a different Asian person. Oh shit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right. We'll edit that out. Ray, edit that out when you get back from vacation.
Fine, let's cut that out. But you know what they say, bro.
Japanese.
So
right. Okay. So confusing Chinese people with a Japanese person. And she's her gimmick is she just wears pajamas and takes naps and likes orange soda. That's really only her gimmick. I don't know if it's like she's acting like a baby, but for whatever reason, I guess this was probably handed to her. But this is a far cry from the Mei Ying or whatever gimmick that she was doing.
Please tell me what
the Mortal Kombat stuff.
Please tell me what archetypes this fits in past movies, Shakespeare, Roman, Roman history, or Greek storyline, Aristotle, all that stuff. Do we have any other characters?
Well, they hadn't invented footy pajamas back then, so I don't know how you expect me to answer that kind of a question.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying, all I can think of is 7 deadly sins: sloth, right, and gluttony. So how do we play that out? And if we start there with the ids of those characters, then do we need to transition out of sloth and have a mentor, or do we pull people into sloth and turn a character that's motivated into a shitbag, into a Beavis and Butthead?
I don't know if either one is 100% correct, and I think they kind of just wanted their own Orange Cassidy because it's the same kind of thing. So,
okay.
And I the fans were into it for a while, and I don't think it's her fault that they're less into it. I think it's more the Office's fault because they haven't done anything interesting with it. But we're talking about a person, okay? Karen Q, Damian Adams, Rip Rogers. It's all under that tree. She's had 2 completely different, ridiculous gimmicks. She's gotten them both over to a degree, so she's making all the lemonade and chicken salad that she needs to make. It's up to them now.
Wendy Q is Karen Q?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Then, I'm not trying to put heat on her because I got mad respect for Damian, and I saw Karen Q's matches. I just so fast that I haven't seen her in 2 years in anything. So to see this, and now that it's an Orange Cassidy quantifier, my mind starts, the wheels start spinning, and there's plenty that we can do because I think Orange Cassidy is a great character to weave throughout a show to transition business. So maybe that's all she needs is to not wrestle, be in the wrong place at the right time, have information, and then stooge it off in a nonchalant way while she plays PS5 and sips orange soda to rib AEW. And somebody takes that information, she's no selling it as she's getting high score, and that sends the rest of the show into a fucking oblivion, So.
They originally introduced her as like people would be doing their little backstage, vignettes, and she'd be like sleeping on a couch, and then as soon as they were done or whatever, she'd like lift up her sleep mask, like, huh, what? Anyways, and then go back to sleep, and that's kind of how it would be her sleeping in weird places and just kind of there. And then she finally made her debut and all the other stuff. It was good.
Okay.
And then they didn't know what to do after that, just like Orange Cassidy. So
yeah, dude,
monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah, I think it's the fact that they get so close. They find the game, they find the improv game, but they don't know they found it. And then they don't know how to heighten and explore it and interweave it through the rest of the show to make it have impact on other. Her whole thing, she's just a catalyst. It's not necessarily about her. They can come back and get the heat for her being the stooge later. But like with plenty of scenes with Orange Cassidy, people should be having heat in the locker room, which they do over there apparently, and then somebody goes out and slams the door behind him, and Orange Cassidy was behind the door the whole time and just shrugs his shoulders and walks off, or a very intimate moment where he's clued in about knowledge that nobody else should be. If they can play that game out with her in the way that AEW has fucked it up, in a 30-second blackout scene, you can be the most over person on the show if you are the key turn, if you are the first domino that sets everything else in motion.
Yep, there you have it. More free advice from the consultant.
Yeah, I don't know, but CM Punk's not impressed. I said improv, so.
Yeah, how dare you? So then, now we get Quincy Elliott. He rides up on his scooter looking homeless. This is normally how Quincy Elliott looks.
Okay.
And then what we're going to see here afterwards, they go straight into the debut. And thankfully he got a change of wardrobe. So this is the first time I've ever seen Quincy Elliott wear this wrestling gear that's like themed gear, like an actual outfit. Most of the time it just like looks like some thrown together shit from the Walmart bargain bin. So I don't know if that was his gimmick before, that he was just going with that, or it took his seamstress or seamster like longer than it probably expected.
That's what it was, bro. And I almost popped because I had gear made it's not like this, but golden Ayatollah black and yellow, and it's that stretchy lycra that looks kind of like, if you're a fat fuck, you looks like you're wearing a hefty bag, as opposed to how I wanted to look like MVP. You know what I mean? How MVP's gear, but
yeah,
I've never worn it. I've never worn it in a show. I actually put it on and had Strangler Steve. I was like, dude, tell me honestly. And I was, still pretty seriously out of shape. And he's like, nah, dude, don't wear it. Wear your camos and shit. You're just they might rip you for it. So when I saw that, I popped, but exactly what you're saying, because I saw him before where he was kind of the Wish version of himself. The gear is finished and it came in and it fit what he wanted to do with a Prince Purple Rain kind of, Gold Dust-esque mix.
Yeah, something like that. But we saw, like, it was almost like Shawn Michaels just like, hey, I remember Gold Dust and Yokozuna to do those things.
Yeah.
Nothing I've seen him do before. I never really seen him do the Gold Dust thing, which is only one guy ever does that. And then I never seen him do the Bonsai drop I don't think he was using that as a finish before, but he might have been. I don't know. He's never been on the show because this is debut, but this is me watching the NXT of NXT, the next level, where you're not even allowed to, you're on the internet, but you're not allowed to be on the cable show yet. So I've seen him before.
I'm glad you said that was the first time you saw him do the Gold Dust stuff, because I know you watch with a keen eye, because we've seen Dustin tweeting in AEW, you don't like it, get the fuck out. Like, you can tell he's done with the bullshit after 20 years of dealing with the top stars and being one of the best in the biz, right? And Cody left, and now this kid's doing Gold Dust stuff. Does Dustin show up to get this kid over and fucking he's going to be the mentor? Is this Gold Dust protege? Is Gold Dust already back channeling? And that's why they had him go out there and do that, to lay the foundation as a little, we see you, homie, and this is what we want to do. I don't know. That's all hypothetical, but Cody's there, and this kid is could be a torch pass. I'm not saying he's going to be working as good as Dustin did and have the acumen or whatever,
even that the gimmick's the same. It's just
right, but we can give him the shine, and it's going to be in that world. It's definitely believable.
Yeah, well, this Sean Gallagher guy ain't gonna get no shine. He's gonna have to do something about this. But anyway, that's fine. He did what he's there to do. Next we get Mackenzie with Grimes. The question is, who is his partner? And he doesn't answer. So, typical Cameron Grimes, boring shit. I'll just move on.
Yeah, it's weird. He's just kind of back to regular wrestler and referencing the fucking to the moon with the doggy coin, but now he's just an average guy wrestler. When this guy's really good at character, man. Whether he was Caveman in Impact or when he was the fucking on the come up with money and did the stuff with the $1 Million Man in LA Knight, like to see him just kind of streamlined into a lower mid card. Here's your average promo. I think he needs to really sit down and hammer out some new character choices that are elevated off what we've seen in the past, because he's got a solid foundation. Where do we go next with him? Let him run for president. I don't give a fuck. Something crazy,
Well, they tried the comedy. Now they're trying the pensive, thoughtful, where am I going? I'm at a crossroads, Cameron Grimes, and I guess he's got to work his way through that. Tony D'Angelo and Stax enter. Then we see Wesley warming up, and then he's paid a violent visit by Trick and Mello. They beat the shit out of him and slam his head in the locker a couple times, and
that was nasty.
Mello's going to have an opponent.
That was nasty heat. I liked it. That was probably one of the best heats on developmental of the night, for sure. Although
now we have a precedent for what happens to people who get in locker room fights, so I don't really want to see any more locker room fights on television if nobody's going to get suspended. Well, and then not talked about for the rest of the
They should have. They, like that. These are where the opportunities of inside ribs, where Triple H goes, congratulations, you beat our developmental. In that scene, I mean, they played at high stakes for real heat, But we should have had a scene like that. Somebody gets bit, a chair gets thrown, and somebody gets suspended. So without saying all the shit, we get it in on our show because AEW's not talking about it at all. You know what I mean? And then if you wanted to do a mock investigation, that's not a bad spot for Cameron Grimes, investigator. You know what I mean? To get shit over in a rib way and fuck you 1-2 punch. We're going to use your shit that you won't even use because you're too terrified of being belly blushed. Now we're going to do it and rib all you guys. And week to week, all you got to do is go, what's going on over there? Okay, we'll rib them through this.
Yep. So now we're going to get Cameron Grimes. He comes out to the ring. This is a reminder to get your NXT trading cards if you haven't already ordered your from Panini Press, just which is a great name.
I can hear you, Vet, but right now my StreamYard says Google Chrome not responding. So if something quits and goes ape shit, who knows? Okay. Right now I just got the spinning wheel goes round and round.
Okay, I got you.
Okay,
I still hear everything fine.
It kicked back on. I'm good now.
Okay. We get a handicap match because Gacy gets on the apron after a few. He's like the surprise. He comes out to save Cameron Grimes. Yeah. He gets the hot tag and he wins. Grimes refuses to hug Gacy and he receives a beating instead. So this is where Joe Gacy's been trying to recruit Cameron Grimes, who's been lost and doesn't know what to do now. And he's like, I got a home for you, Cameron Grimes. And Cameron Grimes is like, nah. So this is what he gets now. Already escalated partners to a beating.
Reluctant tag partner story, and I popped Joe Gacy front handspring off the ropes, back elbow. Like it made me laugh. Yeah. Is that really? That's his finish?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, he does so that it's not like it needs to be. It's wrestling.
I mean, if he wins a match, that's his finish.
Right. That was Tajiri shit, right?
Tajiri did a back elbow just to do one. Yeah, he does the handspring into a big clothesline, from hell.
But here's the thing: usually those are classified as women's moves, and anytime you see a handspring and fucking round off into a back elbow in the corner, that's a classic women's spot. And then we got a pre-tape with Sol Ruka, surfer, who's surfing's going to prepare you for wrestling. Absolutely, never.
Mm-hmm.
But she's on the beach doing all handsprings and all that. I go, I wonder who's going to do the fucking handspring round off back elbow spot. Like that'll be her only thing she does for the next 3 years, bro.
Well, and they already had Tiffany Stratton doing the gymnast, the daddy's princess gymnast gimmick. So we got enough gymnasts.
You know what they say? Scissor me, daddy.
No one says that. All right. Well, one guy does. So then we get JD McDonough. He's getting a shave. He gets cut. He looks at his own blood. What do you think about this stupid shit?
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to do a little something of like he's the most groomed, but then he's super serious. So I don't really understand what the grooming part.
He likes pain, Ben. He's one of those guys.
Oh, he's a sadomasochist. Because I was like, dude, fucking gigged him in his goddamn carotid artery, and much more blood than a normal cut from shaving is on his hand. And I was like, is this symbolism of somebody got their throat cut because of him stooging or something along those lines, or is this a dig in there or what have you? But now that you're saying he's into sadomasochism and stuff like that, it makes more sense.
He didn't look happy to be cut by a straight razor, but then afterwards he was like, well, I guess.
Yes, I do. Yeah. But yeah, it was okay delivery for developmental, and it was not in the ring, and it was backstage, with the lighting the right way. So at least it was a controlled environment, and they tried something.
Yeah. Then we do a sit down with Junior, Ron Jr., Braun Steiner. What do you want to call him? We're going to call him anything but what they call him. They go over, he and Vic Joseph go over how badly he's been booked. Any thoughts?
I think from the jump, from the name, this guy should be going, he should shit on Vince McMahon. He should go, I'm not Braun Breaker. I'm fucking Steiner. And I'm tired of doing this phony wrestling shit when my legacy is right there. And I'm going to take my namesake, and everybody around here is going to start respecting me in a different way. You know what I mean? Like now that we've gone to black and yellow again, now the old man's gone. Now that all the stupid little Chili McFreeze, like shit on creative. Like they made me take this, like whale them. Like, don't be afraid to say what's what, because to keep on the Braun Breaker phony wrestling path And even when you're showing your dad and they're asking about the Hall of Fame induction, that's the fucking flashpoint that you get to break out from right there, not continue on the wrong road. Let's get right back on the highway where we need to be, on the right path. Did we? Nope. So this segment kind of pissed me off, to be honest with you.
All right, well, just try to relax. Don't let your blood pressure get up. You'll end up like Big Ray. Mackenzie is with Tyler Bate. He's got his eyes looking forward on JD McDonough, and my eyes are on my phone because whenever this guy comes on, I just got to check and see what else is happening in the world. Anything but this.
Yeah.
I don't imagine you're a huge Tyler Bate fan, so.
I had already forgotten about him by the time I saw.
Let's just move on to the meat of the situation, which is Nikita Lyons and Zoe Stark, who has a little less meat, but it's lean meat, versus their opponents here, Kiana James and Ariana Grace, who have just recently formed an alliance last week. Ariana Grace, you would know as Santino's daughter.
Okay.
So this is probably your first chance of seeing her in the ring. Right?
Yeah.
I know. I can't honestly believe. And to have some of the perverts in our chat room talking about this woman the way they do, and I'm like, I saw this kid running around OVW. Like I can't look at her like that, man.
I didn't realize it was her. Again, I haven't been watching, but already she's on camera and trains at her dad's dojo and the Don Kolov arena. So she's been around mixed martial arts since she was in diapers, so absolutely I would trust her training more than anybody else probably on the roster, to be honest with you at this point, based on her dad working with her and knowing what the fuck is what.
She was right there front and center for the boogeyman.
Yeah.
The whole incident that started that.
She's got big heat. And isn't that something we could do? Dude, if you really wanted to play to the smart marks, she's over, she's happy, and fucking all of a sudden lights go out backstage and there's worms falling on her. Like, let's rib it. Let's get it for the smart marks. NXT is all hardcore smart marks. Let's fucking complete the circle of the pattern, even if it started when you were 6 years old and now you are. That's and that's gonna elevate you above everybody else, because Boogeyman's shine as a fucking legendary wrestle crap character is still very valid, and he still looks awesome. I worked a show with him last year; it looks fucking identical, and that's the type of attention to detail that should be paid here. But her job,
because even if you don't know that, they're telling you, so now you know. It's
right,
fine.
Sure, yeah, and a little kid who doesn't know. That's the moment where the father can go, oh, this is before you were born. All this shit happened with her dad. And like, now the dad gets to school the kid and you share the love of wrestling and wrestling history together. And then the little kid who's in 5th grade, who only knows the NXT roster, goes and tells his friends because he's smartened up, and his buddies and his wrestling clique will fucking, be like, oh, and they think they're way smart to the sheets or what have you, dude. Like, that's how we needed to pluck the heartstrings. But in this one, it's obviously the split-legged cake drop, which many guys pay X amount of dollars for at many gentlemen's clubs. So, she's over. And like I said, there's definitely money on her, but she needs to I'm not trying to say take a look in the mirror, but like, you need to look at, like, I need to be the hottest version of myself. What's making me money? Again, coming off a knee injury, I'm not trying to tap dance on her that way, but this was a bit of a slop fest.
Yeah, it started out okay, then it devolved toward the end. The only real, I always try to bring at least one bit of constructive, ring criticism if I can. But this would be mine for this one. So the finish here, they basically have, I believe it was it the Ariana Grace? I think it was. She took
the legged gimmick.
Yeah, she took the Zoe Stark's finish, which is that, like, the Sammy Guevara thing where she does like the burning hammer into go to sleep thing. And normally that's lights out and that's it. But instead, because she's got to get up and take somebody else's finish, now she stands up, buries that finish.
Yeah, was that the one where she hooks her on the back and she's wearing her like a backpack and lets her go?
No, she
was that the other girls match, because that finish was fucking stupid too. Like,
no, that was another match, but this one was you know, she hits her with the whole, you know, go to sleep thing, and normally that's the finish. Then she gets up because she's got to take Nikita's, like, you know, flipping roundhouse kick, which she didn't take. She was like, I ain't taking that, and she gave her all the back, and rightly so. Her dad taught her well. And then she has to take the split-legged thing. But the point is, if you're going to hit somebody's finish that's a knockout finish, you don't get back up.
Don't sell
so
up.
All you do is you hit her with the knockout finish, then go tag your partner and let her drop the leg right there. It's right there.
No, you're 100%.
So simple,
right.
but
100%.
So ladies, just work.
And how many times did they practice this match this week before TV? Verbatim.
Probably a lot of times.
Yeah, probably I'd say no less than 15 to 20. So
this is on the agent. This is 100% on whatever producer did this, because they should have known better. But
yep, you're 100% right. That's on the agent, and that should not have been in there. She should have taken that big burning hammer, fucking, and laid the fuck out and let Big Cakes come in and do what she does on her.
Yep. All right. Now let's talk what shouldn't also have happened. We get Idris and Malik. They're in the parking lot. They're talking about the voting of the Superstar of the Year, which made me think, like, how long are these fucking polls open? The show's been on for how long, and we're still voting now. So then the Dyad comes out. That's Gacy's tag team, and together they're known as the Schism. So they got two team names. Okay. So when it's just the two of them, it's the Dyad, because that's two people. And then they come out and they start fighting with these guys because they were talking shit about Joe Gacy's not going to win even if you vote 1,000 times. And then security comes out immediately, because that's the most important thing. Security comes out, breaks up this fight, and but more so than breaking up the fight, I think they were really just there to remind Hank that he had a match later. So that was the important business. If Hank hadn't been out there, they wouldn't have been able, and he would have forgotten. No. He would have forgot he had a match later.
That's funny. These guys getting hot about that. I don't like the nominees for Superstar of the Year. They should be, not that I'm trying to sell more magazines that I'm not in, but this should be about the PWI 500 and where they are, and getting pissed about a worked list and being marks for it. And then somebody comes in and goes, this shit's all phony, and talking about the list, but you're really talking about wrestling, and fucking stop being marks for your fucking self. And Barry Meltzer and the rest of them in a tongue-in-cheek way that's inferred, and on we go. You know what I mean? Where nobody's better than anybody else. It's whoever the boss circles their fucking name on the sheet that night.
Pretty much. Then we get a look at Wes Lee in the trainer's room after his vicious locker room beating. Now, here's the part where I get to have some more fun with this, because in the show that you haven't been watching, Ben, but every once in a while, Apollo Crews or somebody will have a vision.
Yeah.
It's just like the Equalizer. You've seen that, right? Yeah. So somehow we get a camera view inside of Apollo Crews' vision. And also sometimes when Wendy Chu has a dream while she's sleeping, we can see inside the dream too.
Ooh, I like this, bro. I like this. I would love
to play with those parameters. All right, look, just keep your heat with me down a little bit just so I can make this point. So we can get in people's brains and shoot that with cameras. However, when Wesley's in the trainer's room, we got to stand out in the hallway outside the door. Like, yeah, we just, I don't know. We're not allowed in there, man. No way, man. So we don't get a mind. We don't get the Mortal Kombat, X-ray move where you see like where his bone was broken. The camera can't just be inside, like where his neck was cracked in the locker room. No, we just got to stand out like 20 yards away with the camera through the door.
Too bad they don't make that his whole stylized thing where we can see through his dreams, but then when it's his time, we hear his voice, but we shoot it from his point of view where we don't see him, but we know he's talking, and we see everybody else's reaction around him, but we don't see him. There's some very interesting directing and cinematic stuff they could do with that, but I love that they played out the dream. I mean, we did that when Eugene woke up and became Nick Dinsmore, that the whole Eugene character was all a dream. Used to read Word Up magazine.
Word Up magazine. Okay, yeah. I was like, you better say it. All right. We got a package for this guy named Oro Mensa. He's just one of these UK guys coming over. He used to be named Oliver Carter, but I guess they thought that was too plain, so they got to give him a more...
He's super smart.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then change his name from Mensa, because that's a fucking mistake.
Well, it has an H at the end, so this is okay. It's not an acronym, so I don't know. What do you want from me? I just
It
watch
should
the
be
shit.
Mensa triple 3 H's at the end.
3 H's, Mensa. Mackenzie is joined by Grayson Waller for the voting on Superstar of the Year, and he's very excited to be in it, except that he didn't make the Final Four, which, again, why are we getting it down to a Final Four? It's just a fucking internet vote, but they keep going with this. So, yeah. He gets annoyed, and he cuts a promo. Like, he does a complete 180 and cuts a promo now that he's eliminated. So that's Grayson Waller for you, just there to be kind of annoying.
Why not?
Yeah.
Boy, he went up and then came right back down, right? Like, seemed like he was going main roster, and they fucking killed that. So he must have pissed off somebody backstage, bro.
Yeah, he did a guest spot for AJ Styles. Like, I think that's them trying to get interest into, whenever stuff like that happens, I always think of like, hey, check out NXT, stuff's going on, and then it just people don't, they just don't check it out. They're like, no, I'm good. We don't even want to watch Raw. I don't think we're gonna watch NXT. Right. So that's basically how it is. Then we get Javier Bernal, Big Body Javi versus Hank Walker. So here was an interesting thing. On commentary, Wade Barrett stooged off the security thing about how those are usually like developmental talents.
Great. I love that.
Right. So he's a prospect, but he doesn't have gear, and he doesn't even wear his own security gear when he actually has a match like he always expected to have, which is why he's there. So I thought that was a little bit of a discrepancy, but
definitely should have had the black shirt on for security, even if he had jeans and the boots, but instead he looks like fucking average dude, like of what he was wearing. Like, even if you're going to wear casual clothes, those were the wrong casual clothes to wear, And what the fuck happened with this guy? Did he go to Scotland and one of the Highlanders cut his fucking stomach open? He's got a massive sword slice in the middle of his fucking guts. That's a backstory that I want to know. Even if it's invented, that should be interesting. And if you're in NXT and you're going to take your shirt off, you got to be in better shape, bro. You can't go, look at me now, and in 6 months after, a bunch of peanut butter and jelly and advice, I'm going to be fucking jacked finally. Don't do the saggy skin shit, bro. That's why I wrestle in a t-shirt. And this didn't help him after a good babyface win with the low cross body of getting over. And also, if you're an average small dude, don't call yourself big body. And it looks fucking stupid.
Right. It's supposed to be like a Crash Holly thing, I guess. I don't know.
It's dumb. And he's dressed like Brian Paul London's tag partner, Brian Kendrick, with the white leather jacket. Like, I'm like, I've seen all this before. This looks like they went in the prop closet and like, here, you can wear this tonight. We've had this in here for 12 years. You wear that out there. We'll put big body on the back. Oh, sure you will.
Okay. So just so we're on the same page, Dream Camera, totally okay. Calling yourself an ironic nickname, off the table.
It just doesn't have anything. He's not doing and blowing himself up to be fucking bigger. He's not playing that game out. He's just calling himself that. Yeah. So whatever.
Not yet. Yeah. All right. So like you said, fat guy crossbody for the win. We get a package on people's entrances. Like, look at all the cool entrances we had. And they show Mandy Rose in a helicopter and all of the other shit.
Yeah.
Mello walks and talks. He's on his way to the ring. He's saying some shit. We get the Sol Ruka vignette you mentioned earlier. And like I said, we already have a gymnast. Braun Breaker wins Superstar of the Year. Yay. And then we get Mello versus, I don't know, because he beat the shit out of Wes Lee. So who's going to come in? And it turns out, shocker, it's Solo Sikoa from the Bloodline.
People pop. Sorry, just before we go by this, because it pissed me off even more when you said his name again. The fact that Braun Strowman is back and we had the chance to break out of Braun Breaker here. There's no way they're going to let two Brauns on the main fucking roster. And Braun Breaker should be on the main roster. So to not make the move to fucking make him into a Steiner with, a regular name is a big fucking, it makes me even more pissed off, to be honest with you now. Like, that's a bad, missed creative choice this week. Sorry. Solo Sikoa is back. And Carmelo Hayes I like because of Carmelo Anthony for Syracuse. So I'm marked for that name. I thought this was good, but Solo hits him with the big fucking splash bomb. I like the sailor splash like that with the arms back. I think the impact looks fucking great, and he does it just as good as the Usos do it. And but like I said, coming back down without him coming up there to give him a reason to chase him back down wasn't my favorite thing. And to put an NXT belt on the guy, now he can go back up and show up with gold. I get why they're doing that. You know what I mean? So he can represent there in the bloodline. So I understand the creative choices behind it. I just would have taken a little bit of different route to get there.
Yeah, the way they got there was a match that was supposed to happen between Solo Sikoa and Carmelo Hayes for that championship. And then Solo Sikoa got some bad news about his, cruciate ligaments in his leg. And they showed him on the trainer's table getting looked at and given a time frame and all this stuff. Much like how we saw earlier on with, what's her name coming out of the trainer's room. So that was where we were going. And then all of a sudden, like a couple weeks later, well ahead of the timetable, he makes his return at Clash at the Castle. So it made me wonder, is that whole injury thing a work? Probably not, because he's still wearing the brace. However, maybe they just worked the whole timetable thing to throw people off. Maybe true. It's playing it down a little bit, or playing it up to make it seem worse than it is, because he's clearly competing. And but before he left, he was supposed to have this title match, and he was going to face the winner of whoever Carmelo Hayes faced. I forget who it was. It was probably Cameron Grimes at the time. And he just said, I got next. So he didn't get his next, but now he came back down and got next. So it's not exactly what you laid out earlier about guys going up and coming down, but it is unfinished business. And now that he brings the North American title up, it'll be another case of hey, look what NXT's doing. I've got an NXT belt. You should watch NXT. That awareness on SmackDown on Fox, which is free TV as opposed to cable. So there's more eyes on it, and they can try to get some of the people that do have cable that haven't been watching NXT, Solo Sikoa is from NXT. Maybe they got some other guys there. That's the entire marketing strategy. Or if you're just a hardcore
Bloodline fan, you're going to go watch it, and maybe Sammy will show up with them, something along those lines, man. So no, those are great points, Vet. You make a great, and I'm sure that's exactly in the creative meeting how they laid it out that way. Strategy for crossover. No, you're spot on with that.
Right, and they want the whole idea behind the Bloodline is you want to see these guys doing work, putting their work in. You know what I mean? When Roman's not around, these guys got to hold everything down at the fort, So Sami Zayn's that's his thing. He's trying to get that Intercontinental title or some gold. And Solo's well, I may not have a shot at gold yet because I just got here, but I did have one lined up down there. So let me go get that. It all kind of makes sense in its own way. If you're not paying attention to all of it, it doesn't make as much sense. But just like this, I could quickly fill you in, and now you're caught up, and now you're on the same page. And then we close out the show with a voiceover from HBK and a look at the new logo. So what do you think of the new logo, Ben, as opposed to the old logo or the older logo?
I guess it's good to be back. People want to go away and then come home again. So it's got that feeling to it, and it's a bit updated with some nice lens flare, and it's got the motion that you want in a graphic, that while it's not moving, it feels like it's moving. And I think it looks fine. And I like the black and gold as branding colors, as opposed to let's just splash some crazy paint everywhere. That really didn't have, I don't know, as much appeal to it. SmackDown's blue, Raw is red, and NXT is yellow. So
right, and then now it looks more actual gold. Because I hate when people say black and gold, and it's like Pittsburgh or whatever. It's no, it's yellow, bro. Yellow is completely different. Gold's an actual metal. It has a color. Yellow ain't it. Yellow's yellow. Don't say black and gold just because you have the color of cowardice and other things like that. Don't try to upsell it to me. But now that the new logo looks more gold, and then it can finally be black and gold.
Right. Can we get a dream sequence inside Shawn Michaels' mind? That's where I want to go next.
We could get a nightmare sequence inside Shawn Michaels' mind. It'll all be that match from Saudi Arabia that he had.
But yeah, man, we made it, Vet. We made it through NXT, man, and I'm so glad to work with you today, dude. It was a good review of developmental and calling people fat when I'm fat, so I feel better about myself, I guess. I don't know.
That's how it works, right? Isn't that why we do it?
But y'all, man, what do you got going down this week, buddy?
Not too much. I'll probably just be doing my normal stuff. I don't have anything planned, but you can find me at Opinion Haver on all your favorite social media platforms or any kind of online presence, really. Just type in Opinion Haver and see what comes up, and it's probably me. You'll be able to tell. But yeah, I'm working on something that's going to be kind of special. Hopefully I can land it, but I'll let you know more about that as I get closer.
Well, I'm excited. I love being kayfabe too. I like a little surprise now and then. I don't always.
Yeah, you can't be the only one having all the fun.
But tonight I'll be having some fun in Albany, New York, as I go to AEW Dynamite to see wife number 2 compete, Serena Deeb. She'll be in action on Dynamite, I think, tonight. So definitely be a good time with referee Sideburns. I'll try and go live on Twitch a little bit, but usually when you're in the arena, everybody's eating up bandwidth. I tried it from Buffalo, and I know it kind of was cocked over. So we'll see if the state capital has better 5G to melt my brain. And then this weekend, Immortal Championship Wrestling, shock and awe. Serena Deeb's going to be in the house with Dirty Dango as well, but she'll be taking on Kayla Sparks, who was on Raw 2 weeks ago in the women's 6-man, and you've seen her on AEW, and she's been kissed by Mexicans on the cheek and everything. So it's time. She wouldn't kiss me, so it's time for a little retribution this weekend, and I had to call in the heavy hitters. So Serena Deeb in the house, Ken and Jahari, Immortal Championship Wrestling, and I appreciate you guys subscribing to patreon.com/Hamin Media Group. You guys want the inside consultant talk. I was glad to answer Vet's questions today. Great questions. And this week, Stevie was on with me, so you're getting twice the lies for all the same price. And as always, Channel Attitude.
Delicious premium lies.
ChannelAttitude.com, Hamin Media Group. You guys, I appreciate it. I know some people wanted the promos too. I got to cut some on Friday, so cameo.com/Bin Hamin if you want me to cancel your birthday, help you quit your job, tell your boss off, tell your teacher off. I'll do it all. I don't give a shit anymore. But y'all, man, you guys know where it is. It's the veteran, them OVW boys back in the house, infidels, here on your next level review. Y'all stay tuned.
First of all, don't tell me what to do.
Okay, I'm sorry. Forgive me.
And if any of you refute that, I dare you to come out here and do